How's it going, everyone? Brad from Pursuit Outdoors. I'm here to talk to you today about the Spartan game camera, and we're going to talk about the most common question that I get when somebody buys this camera. The very first question they ask me is, what batteries do I use? How do I make sure I get good field life and I get a lot of pictures taken without the need to go back and change batteries really frequently? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start and talk about the different types of batteries. We're going to start with the cheaper batteries, work up to the lithiums, and then talk about rechargeables and external power sources. So the first question that I get when it comes to alkalines is whether or not they're actually going to power the camera long enough. So I went and did some testing. I've done about a half a dozen tests on a different variety of alkalines, and they generally all come out pretty close to the same average. Your cheap, generic, store brand alkalines are going to get you about 600 to 700 photos transmitted, meaning the camera takes the picture and sends it to your app or your web portal for the Spartan. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot, but you have to remember the camera is using a lot of power to actually send the pictures every time. So at that point, what you have to think about is, how often am I going to be at the camera site to change the batteries? If you're going to be setting the camera on a trail where you're getting maybe 2, 3, 4 pictures a day, and you're going to be at the site once a month, maybe once every 6 weeks, you could get away with using the cheap alkalines, and they're very cost effective. You can go and buy Rayovacs, or you can buy Utilitex, or even AC Delco generic batteries for as few as $10 for 20 or 40 batteries. And that'll power the camera for a good 2-3 months for you at that picture rate. A lot of people, though, want to set the camera and let it run for a long period of time. We're talking months. And so a lot of people at that point tend to want to go toward lithiums. So there's really only 2 types of lithiums on the market, and they're both made by Energizer. One are the advanced lithiums, and then the other are the ultimate lithiums. Ultimates are slightly more expensive, but according to Energizer, have more power and more lasting lifespan. In the test that I ran for these, you're going to get about 1,000 to 1,400 pictures sent and transmitted to your portal by the camera before these batteries really start to die down on you. Now, the tough part about lithiums is that when you're looking at your camera settings on your app or the portal, they're going to show full power right up until the point they can no longer transmit. So you really have to keep track of the number of pictures that are sent to you if you want to make sure that your camera doesn't just mysteriously die from a loss of power. It's a really good option, but they are expensive. You're really talking about loading up the camera with lithiums, and you're probably going to spend in the neighborhood of $20 to do so. But for people who want to have the camera out for 3 or 4 months at a time, or have a lot of pictures that are going to be taken in a short period of time, these lithiums are a good option. Now, when it comes to cell cameras, and you're talking about setting them over mineral licks or setting them over feeders, you really are going to want to start looking at external power sources. The Spartan runs off of a 6-volt system, and it has a connection on the bottom for you to plug in either a solar panel and battery setup or an external 6-volt system. So the first one here is HCO makes this, who is also the maker of the Spartan camera. This is an integrated solar panel with a battery on the inside, a lithium ion. This plugs right into the bottom of the camera, and you can screw or hang this onto the tree right next to it. The power for this is pretty good. If you're going to be getting, say, 20 pictures a day and you're getting full sun where the camera location is, this will really run your camera for a long period of time. You're probably talking, in conjunction with a set of rechargeables, you're probably going to get about between 1,500 and 2,000 photos over several months, as long as the sun is there. Now, the tough part about solar panels is that if you get cloudy days, or if you're setting the camera in, say, a very deep canopy like what we have here behind us, it's not going to get full sun and charge the battery every day. So you're going to eventually start drawing power on the batteries that are put inside the camera. And that's critical because you're going to have to watch the power settings on your app to start alerting you to when you need to go and refresh the batteries for this type of setup. You can get a little creative and buy aftermarket kits or build them yourself with larger solar panels. And a lot of people that run feeder setups that are getting 50 to 100 pictures a day sometimes, they have giant solar panels that are feeding directly into large 6-volt batteries, much bigger than this one here, which is only a 4.5 amp hour. They'll have big 12 amp hour batteries with giant 12-inch by 20-inch panels, and the cameras will run almost indefinitely on that power source because the solar panels can refill the batteries up quite quickly. Another smaller option, which is a little bit more difficult to find because these products aren't on the market much anymore, are external battery extenders. This one here is actually a Covert brand, but it's also 6 volt as well. And what it is it actually holds another 8 batteries that you can put in and then plug right into the external port for the camera. This will give you additional lifespan if you don't want to deal with the hassle of a solar panel setup or an external battery. You can tie this right onto the tree using the loop on the back, and it's going to give you roughly about 40 to 50% more lifespan in addition to the 12 internal AA batteries. So this is a good option if you can find this on the market still, and it's also a quick, easy way to load up some extra lithiums or some extra alkalines. Alright guys, we're going to dive in a little bit more to talk about the external power sources. The reason why it's important is because I actually think half the people that use Spartan game cameras, at least the cell versions, are using external power sources, largely because they're using them to collect as much data as possible. And I also tend to find out most people who use these use them more on feeders and mineral licks and other sites where there's going to be a lot of physical picture taking going on. So one of the key things that you have to remember when you're using an external power source is that the Spartan is going to draw power from the highest source, meaning wherever the power is strongest, it's going to take the power from that to actually trigger the camera and operate. So one of the key things to remember is that you want to use rechargeable batteries when you're using an external power source. And the reason for that is because the rechargeable batteries run on 1.2 volts. The normal alkalines and external batteries, they're going to run at a 1.5 or slightly higher, give or take. So by doing that, you're ensuring that the camera is taking power either from the solar panel and external battery or the SLA battery that you have in a case. By doing that, it's going to ensure that you're not draining down the internal batteries that you need to make sure the camera is functioning properly. Some people will simply use 4 rechargeables. This camera is set up in bays, so you can use 4, 8, or 12 batteries. I always choose to use 12, especially when I'm running one of the solar panels, because that'll buy me some time if the solar panel is not getting sun and I start to see the battery levels drop a little bit. It's really important to make sure that you watch for the emblem icon on your app or portal, because when you see the bars start to go down, that's telling you that the camera is using the internal power source most likely. And if you're running this solar panel, chances are you probably want to take a trip to the camera and replace the internal batteries and maybe either get a bigger external power source or move the camera to a more direct sunlight location. When it comes to the externals, I've found that in combination with the rechargeables and a small 4.5 amp hour battery like this, you're going to get several months of continuous use out of it, and you're probably going to be in the ballpark of that 2,000 to 2,300 picture range. If you step up and you go to the big 12 amp hour version of this, you're going to be likely in the 3,000 to 3,200 picture time frame before the batteries really start to be worn down and they need to be changed. Now the tough part is a lot of people want to talk about battery life in terms of time. When it comes to cell cameras, it's really more about the actual pictures that are transmitted because of how much power it takes to do so. So you can really get, say, 6 months of battery life out of a big 12 amp hour battery if you're only using up a handful of pictures a day. They're not going to build up on you and draw down on the battery so much as it would if you were taking, say, 100 pictures a day. Now you're talking about a much shorter lifespan. Either way though, it's probably the best option if you've got a lot of activity at a mineral site or a feed station. So when you want to use an external power source, you can do that pretty cheaply. You can really get one going for as cheap as 25 to 30 bucks. That's going to provide you a lot of lifespan for your camera. You'll be able to put it out in the field for months at a time, take several thousand pictures, and not really need to go to the camera site, which is the benefit of using the Gocams really. So this case right here is about 5 to 7 bucks at Walmart. It's actually a clear blue plastic case. It's called an outdoor box, and it can be found at the camping section of Walmart. And all I did was basically just give it a light coating of camo flat spray paint, and it's also waterproof. So from there, what you would do is you would drill a hole, preferably at the bottom so that way it keeps rainwater out. You would insert your cable, and then you can connect it to your SLA battery, which fits conveniently inside this case. For everything involved, you're really only talking about 25 or 30 bucks, especially when you add in the cost of the physical charger to charge each battery. You can buy 2 of these for about 15 bucks shipped on eBay. So you're really talking about $20 there. You can buy the cable, the SR1 cable that'll work, or you can actually make them your own. They're a basic, very common cable you can find at Radio Shack. This is about 10 bucks, and then the charger is somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10 bucks depending upon where you buy it. That'll give you the opportunity to charge a battery at home, and then when you need to switch them out, you just merely go in and replace the battery, charge the other one, and you're good to go for a few more months. So in total, it's really a simple process to decide what battery use is best for you. If you really want the camera out there for months at a time, you're going to have to rely on either going the expensive route using lithiums or look into an external power source. Either way though, you've got some options to choose from that'll best fit your needs. And one of the things that I suggest is that you research how you're going to use the camera and how you plan to put it into the field, and make the best and most effective decision for you. Because if you don't want to deal with the hassle of an external battery, maybe just dealing with the cost of lithium's going to be simple. You can go in, replace the batteries, and boom, the camera's done and running again, and you're on your way. If you like to tinker, you can make a homemade option, or you can buy one that is pretty much plug and play. So you got a couple opportunities there to make a decision on that. What I would encourage you to do, if you like this video, give it some likes, and also please be sure to visit our webpage here, which is pursuitoutdoors.com, where you can buy the Spartan Gocams. You can also buy Browning trail cams and HME products. We're currently opening extra accounts, and we're looking to be a full-service trail camera website that retails not only the cameras at a good price, but also provides really high-end quality service and explains the information you need to know in a way that you can understand it. It's not going to be formal, it's not going to be real technical, it's really just the information you need to use your cameras the best way possible. And I also want to thank Kevin Keenan for filming this video. He's got a Facebook page at Kevin Keenan Photography. Be sure to visit his page and give his page some likes. He's got some really awesome hunting and outdoors based photography, and he's really good at doing some farm photography. So I definitely encourage you to give his page some likes, and feel free to reach out. You can reach me at brad@pursuitoutdoors.com. Thanks.